write home and tell your friends. So
My friends.
you don't have to write them on anything. We're going to do a couple examples here. These really should cure what ails you. The difference in what we're doing now and what you've already been doing, well, let's do one that you have been doing. If you have 6 plus m equals 15, and you're supposed to solve that, what was the rule that you're supposed to follow that I've told you numerous times? And please don't tell me that you subtract those. That's not the rule that I'm asking you for. Sammy, I'm going to say, yeah, you want to find the process that you're doing before you do anything. And to do that, you think of an easy addition problem. Maybe it's 6 plus 2 equals 8. If you're missing this middle number, what do you do with these two to get to? Yes, you do subtract them, and you get 15 minus 6 is 9. Now, the reason I tell you that is most of you don't do that. Some of you do. Some of you are, whatever, obedient children, however that works. I hate being children. But problem is, and then I'm going to have 1,000 people ask me a question when it comes to this, because no longer are they just going to give you simple little whole number problems. They're going to start throwing at you problems that are fractions like this. F plus 1/5, sorry, F plus 1/5 equals 4/5. F plus 1/5 equals 4/5, to which again, I'm going to tell you the same rules. To figure out whether you add or subtract these fractions, think of an easier problem. That's an addition problem. Maybe it is 4 plus 3 equals 7. If you're missing the first number with these two, what do you do with these two to get 4? Do you add or subtract them? Subtract. So that's what you're going to do here. You're going to do 4/5 minus 1/5. You can do that because they have common denominators. Your answer is 3/5. So again, just like before, just because it's fractions, or it will also be decimals, they'll give you something like this, 7.5 minus q equals 3.2. You're going to want to figure out, most people understand they have to add or subtract. Some people just start subtracting because they see a subtraction sign, but is it adding or is it subtracting? I don't know. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, okay, let's say I've got 10 minus 3 is 7. If I'm missing the middle number here, what do I do with those two to get 3? You do subtract. Now you're subtracting the fraction. What's my rule on subtracting decimals?
Line up the decimals.
Line them up. So 4.3 is what the letter Q equals. Now probably the hardest one of all is going to be one that looks like this. But we've talked about this before. I still get questions about this. 3/5 x equals 1. Now let me tell you, this is the same thing as this. 3/5 times what number equals 1? In which case, to your mind should come that very long word that starts with an R, Jacob. Yeah. Anytime you see fractions and ones, that it's multiplication or division, you should always think reciprocal, which is just the fraction flipped over. Your answer to this is 5/3. 3/5 times 5/3 is going to equal 1. Really, I can't explain it any more clearly to you than that. When you come back and ask me about how to do those missing problems, I will first of all ask you to think of a simpler problem. The other thing that they have, take out another piece of paper and write division on it. And this is kind of a helpful little thing here. Take a look at this problem here. How many people get excited about dividing 1200 by 16? Jordan, does that excite you?
It thrills me.
The book gives you a helpful little hint here, people, because you need to be thinkers. Math people aren't always about doing things the hard way. Sometimes you can cut some corners there. And one of the things that you can do when you see a division problem is, if you can divide or multiply them by the same number, you don't change what your answer is. In other words, I can cut both of these numbers in half, which would make this 600. Oops. And this number, what's half of 16? 8. And I can do that problem and get the same answer. Or I could cut them in half again. What's half of 600?
300.
Half of 8.
4.
Or I could continue to cut in half. Half of 300 is?
150.
Oops, I keep putting equals. It should be divided by. And then maybe you could cut it in half again and get,
2.
this is 75 divided by 1. The answer to each and every one of these problems is 75. This long, hard problem that we didn't do in the beginning is the same answer as this one, as long as you do multiply or divide by the same number. In the same way, here's another problem the book gives you. 7 1/2 divided by 2 1/2. 7 1/2 divided by 2 1/2. Most of you cannot do that in your head. Matter of fact, right now we can't divide by fractions either way, so most of you don't have any answer. But what if I double both of these fractions? If you double 7 1/2, you get 15. If you double 2 1/2,
5.
and guess what the answer to this is?
3.
The answer to both of them are 3. So the book just kind of wants you to start being aware that that's something you can do when you divide. If you can multiply or divide both of them by the same number, you know, you can make the problem easier, or you could probably make it harder, I suppose, as well. But
Yay.
they just want you to be able to see that